nutrition. The third factor is lack of adequate academic preparation. We've all heard a lot about that. Once again, state disinvestment plays a role here. The institutions lack the resources to implement creative programs to address the problems of poorly prepared students. Their weaknesses are less cognitive than behavioral, and this is particularly true in community colleges. The institutions of the Obama administration and states like California are counting on to boost educational attainments. The sad truth is that our regional universities and community colleges are probably much weaker today than they were 30 years ago when this system had just finished being built out. But the same cannot be said about public research universities. They are far stronger institutions in terms of students, faculty, and research capabilities than was the case 30 years ago, the onset of the privatization era. And Robert Geiger has explained some of the things that they're doing, but they've basically been successful by expanding their research capabilities, especially in those areas most related to national needs. They've followed the private sector in raising tuition and selectivity. In the last 30 years, the percentage of academic research performed by public universities has increased from 65 to 68%, and federally funded research has gone up about the same amount. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but there's a larger story behind these figures. Most significant, despite the unprecedented prosperity of private universities in those years, public universities have outperformed them in research. Now, the academic research system has many different parts, and biomedical research is at least one half of that. And there's little difference. Both sides have performed about 61%, and that figure has been steady for a long time. This is the kingdom of the National Institutes of Health, and both public and private medical researchers conform to the NIH environment. The difference between the two sectors lies in other fields. Public universities perform 80% of academic research in environmental sciences, in the social sciences, and nearly that in engineering. And those shares have been increasing since the 1990s. In computer sciences, the public share has gone from less than half to about 2/3. These accomplishments attest to the growing vitality of public research universities. And what accounts for this success? Their competitive advantage basically comes from the size and breadth of their departments. Large enrollments support large academic departments, which in turn permit the universities to harbor high-quality units in numerous specialties. Stephen Brint has characterized this as the high-volume, low-cost model, in contrast to the low-volume, high-cost model at private research universities. Both models have their distinct advantages, but the public model is conducive to increasing volumes of research. Large graduate programs, for example, enhance both research and research faculties. Brint found 50 public universities with graduate programs of 4,000 or more versus 14 private universities. The advantage of the public model has been accentuated by the recent emphasis by funding agencies on interdisciplinary teams and economic relevance. Public universities have greater capacity to bring together specialists from diverse fields to attack large interdisciplinary projects. They also have far more departments focused on fields that are inherently linked with application. And these would include all the fields associated with agricultural, as well as engineering and environmental sciences. These are the growth areas of the 21st century, in addition to biomedical. The cumulative growth of expertise in these areas is building the value of public universities for our knowledge-based society. And this could well be the key to their survival, the ability to sell valuable knowledge-based products, despite the negative connotations that selling these things involves. Of course, the most important product they sell is education, and it has been in great demand. The leading public universities have followed the privates in becoming more selective. This selectivity has resulted strictly from growing demand for admissions, and it has brought significant benefits. Better students are always welcome. Greater prestige translates into proud alumni who donate more generously. However, in the language of the dismal science, it has also given them pricing power. These institutions have led the tuition increases in the public sector. Moreover, they have been able to sell more places to out-of-state students. These universities have become increasingly tuition dependent, which we may not like, but it makes them less dependent on state appropriations. Public universities also endeavor to make their expertise available to the wider community. This mission was originally associated with agriculture and land-grant institutions, but it has expanded far beyond that. These institutions provide continuing education, online education, certificate courses, professional master's degrees, and once again in these application-oriented fields. They promote economic development through community outreach, small business development, technical services, and research. And through conferences and events, they provide intellectual enrichment for individuals of all ages. Public universities thus function as repositories of learning for their states, regions, and the nation and internationally. This is their comparative strength in a world of higher education and in our evolving knowledge society. Many of these services, this access to the university's expertise, is supported by a paying clientele. However, maintaining and augmenting the repository of learning is the sine qua non, and for that, the contributions of state governments are crucial. It is doubtful that the resources upon which this learning depends, new buildings, library collections, laboratories, IT, graduate programs, could be sustained or improved on a fee-for-service basis. Thus, perhaps the ultimate danger in the plight of public universities is that the incompetence of state governments will undermine that vital financial margin that has sustained intellectual excellence on which all else is based. Thank
you. There are two problems associated with being the third person on a panel like this in the middle of the afternoon. The first is that by the time we get to the third speaker, almost everybody in the audience is about ready for a nap, not because the previous speakers have been boring, but because that's when people fall asleep. And the other is, of course, that by the time you get to the third speaker, in this case me, he winds up